Since the game Wilderness Era was launched, it has dominated the entire field of artificial intelligence games. While the game itself began to evolve and develop, countless missions in the game's storyline continued to expand, quickly creating a complex game world system, with the final destination of these quests being dungeons filled with large amounts of gold and items. At the same time, dungeons in the game's regions, once certain special conditions were met, could trigger hidden storylines that would upgrade to hidden dungeons, making the wealth and opportunities in the game grow exponentially. As a result, many large guilds quickly took control of key monster farming areas, constantly exploring the conditions for hidden dungeons. Outside of the main city, guilds were scattered around the surrounding areas, such as the guilds of Kuktin, Maou, Hotu, and Jiangha. The mountain and canyon areas were controlled by the Hotu Guild. At this moment, a group of players was entering the canyon. Along the entrance path to the canyon area, an adorable super-level monster appeared and blocked their way. They waved their hands, telling it to go away and not disturb them. The monsters moved in a group, and they knocked away any of them that came near. One of them spoke. "Now I understand. No wonder the boss is so angry. The boss and the vice president have been occupying the Bear Mountain for so long but couldn't find the conditions to activate the hidden boss. It's ridiculous that as soon as they left, it got snatched away. No wonder the boss is furious." Another person added, "I don't understand why the Bear Mountain got wrecked like that. Yet they didn't send people over there but instead sent reinforcements to the canyon." The more they spoke, the more confused they became about why they were stuck here guarding. The man in red armor, who had been listening to their conversation, finally spoke up. "Now you all don't get it. The hidden boss won't respawn, so the Bear Mountain doesn't have any value anymore. Aside from leveling up, the canyon, on the other hand, still has its hidden dungeon intact. So our mission is to continue sending reinforcements to the canyon. But if we get the chance to ambush that player and capture her, we can report her to the higher-ups. Then we can take all her equipment and materials, which means we'll have a lot of money." When one of the men asked how he knew she would pass by here, the man in red armor replied, "According to our guild's information, she just reached level 10. A level 10 player will naturally have to go to the main city to change class. And since she's easily startled, she won't walk boldly, she'll sneak through the sides. And one of those sides is where we're guarding. So it's almost a done deal." The other man was surprised. As expected of our boss, he also worried that the girl was a freak. He had heard that she was a necromancer with a twisted psychology and weighed 200 pounds. Although her level wasn't high, she liked to do strange things to other players. And he heard that she was quite terrifying. The man in red armor responded, saying that the thing he hated most in the world was freaks, assuring them to relax because they were well prepared for today. Indeed, who would want to go into a tiger's den without a weapon? Which is why the boss equipped himself with a 20% damaged armor. His subordinates weren't much better. One wore armor that reduced 10% of physical damage, and the other had 15%. They had gear, but it wasn't significant. One of the subordinates spoke up. "A necromancer sounds like a mage, but her summoned skeletons all deal physical damage. And today, we have armor that resists physical damage. Plus we've changed our class to paladins. The holy attributes are a nemesis to a necromancer's summons. Capturing her will be a piece of cake." They chatted away, not noticing the figure in the distance. Just as one of them was excited, praising the boss for his calculations, a dark stream of air suddenly surrounded them. Before they realized what was happening, they were struck by a purple lightning bolt, which didn't do much damage but terrified them. They gathered together, confused as to where these lightning strikes were coming from and why they were enveloped. One of them even thought they had found the hidden boss. But reality soon slapped them in the face. They were under attack by a mage. One of the group remained calm and quickly advised the others to heal and defend. The purple light continued to intensify, and they didn't understand why the magic was so powerful, especially since each attack was magical. Their armor, which was 2 layers of physical armor, wasn't effective against magic. The man in red armor started to panic and ordered a retreat before it was too late. But before he could finish his sentence, the lightning strikes hit them with great force, sending them on a one-way trip to the afterlife. The player Lanu has died. In the distance, 2 familiar figures appeared. Skeleton number 3 reminded the others to pick up the gold. Skeleton number 2 was searching for equipment or materials. "Don't miss anything." Trong Man, sitting on Jiang Tan's shoulder, took a blue potion provided by the hyena squad and received 300 blue coins. She sipped the potion and commented, "I didn't expect that rough crystal from the treasure chest would be worth 5 coins. Jiang Tan silently thought to himself, "This is all that the master is capable of." Trong Man Man saw the system notification and pointed it out to Jiang Tan. Little skeleton, look over there. That seems like a wild player. You guessed right, it's a player. Trong Man Man was counting the money she had looted, while Jiang Tan sat down, wondering if these players had been struck by his AoE lightning and died as a result. But these players were really weird, hiding in bushes for no reason. Jiang Tan then noticed the Ho2 guild medal on one of them. He didn't understand why they were wearing physical damage-resistant armor if they were paladins. He quietly concluded that they were trying to capture him, but they ended up falling into their own trap. Jiang Tan had heard that the Ho2 guild controlled a lot of territory, but he hadn't expected them to control the canyon area as well. It seemed that if he wanted to safely cross this canyon, he needed more intelligence. At this point, Trong Man Man called out to Jiang Tan, "Look at the player in red armor. There's still one alive here." The man in red armor, now paralyzed, clutched his head, thinking he had miscalculated. She truly was crafty. How could her AoE magic be so damaging? What exactly happened? He thought to himself, there's no chance of making money now. I have to call for backup. He quickly contacted his team, but a sword with an ominous aura was swiftly aimed at him. Cutting off his communication, Jiang Tan quickly stripped him of his armor. He figured it would be safest to strip him down and tie him up. Trong Man Man, unsure of what her skeleton was doing, also didn't know what was happening. The girl, blushing in embarrassment, looked at Jiang Tan and said, "Why is it her?" A very seductive red-haired girl appeared before them and shouted, "The guild's information was right. You are indeed a freak." Jiang Tan showed her the items he had just found. Trong Man Man finally felt it was all too strange and asked, "Is it really necessary to go this far?" Jiang Tan equipped the armor and gestured with his hands. Trong Man Man understood. "I get it now. They were with the others from last time, right? I see. If you do this, she won't be able to commit suicide or log out." The red-haired girl frowned, wondering what was happening. What is she doing? Is she mentally unstable? Talking to her summons? She thought to herself, I'd rather die than be tortured by people like this. Trong Man Man spoke up, apologizing for accidentally injuring them and asking a few questions. The red-haired girl refused to speak, saying, "I hate freaks the most. Even if I'm a girl. Just kill me already. Don't insult me anymore." Trong Man Man explained that they weren't freaks. They were just afraid she'd run away. She only wanted to ask a few questions. But the red-haired girl refused to speak, saying she'd rather starve or jump from the 100th floor than open her mouth. At this point, Jiang Tan motioned for Trong Man Man to stop. She hesitated, then looked at him as he asked, "Is it time for Plan B?" The red-haired girl, now more defiant, said, "Just kill me. I'd rather die than let a freak like you twist my personality." Jiang Tan pulled out something, shocking her. She thought it was something else, but it turned out to be a pouch containing 50 silver. He dangled it in front of her. The red-haired girl was stunned, as if she had just experienced a heavy blow. Trong Man Man looked worriedly at Jiang Tan and said, "Look, she bit her tongue. I told you she's not interested in money. Stop wasting it. We need to save for later." Suddenly, a female voice rang out. "Wait a minute." Trong Man Man instinctively turned around, and the girl spun 180 degrees. "Sister, you're absolutely right. Aren't you going to ask me a few questions? Today, I'll tell you everything I know." She laughed bitterly. Money really does blind people's eyes. In the end, everyone's a capitalist. You thought I was tough, didn't you? The game system displayed the currency exchange rate. Today, 1 silver coin was worth 2,000 Waha coins. Trong Man Man was surprised and turned to Jiang Tan. Jiang Tan signaled, and Trong Man Man immediately received the information. She was told to get her to reveal everything about the Ho2 guild. The red-haired girl, unsure, waited for his response. Moments later, only Trong Man Man's loud shout could be heard. "Who's the freak now?" The red-haired woman was quickly released by the two, letting out a sigh of relief. Feeling utterly exhausted, Trong Man Man approached, and the thing they wanted to ask was. Before she could finish speaking, the woman interrupted. "It's a small matter, little sister. Whatever you're curious about, I have the answers." Trong Man Man insisted that she would pay, so the woman shouldn't try to deceive her. The red-haired woman stretched her shoulders and thought to herself, I didn't expect this girl to be a rich lady throwing money around like trash. She slowly walked up to Trong Man Man. "Seems like you're not exactly how I imagined you." Trong Man Man kept backing away. "What are you doing? Don't come closer." The woman quickly approached her. "Don't worry, little sister. I'm a proper person." Trong Man Man shivered, but looking at the woman, she didn't seem proper at all. The woman suddenly realized something and noticed that Jiang Tan was holding her hand from behind. Do you really need to be so cautious of me? I've already handed over all my weapons to you, she said. Trong Man dodged. Of course I need to be cautious. You're here to capture us, aren't you? Now suddenly playing the role of an ally. Isn't that suspicious? The red-haired woman flung Jiang Tan's hand aside. Suspicious? The guild has a problem with you. Not me. My friends and I are just low-level workers who need money. There's some loss, but the consequences of what we've done are serious. This is the price that's acceptable. She then revealed a conversation from inside, where her subordinate asked what was going on, whether it was caused by a player, the necromancer, and whether they needed to contact others. The red-haired woman replied that everything was fine here, and the attack earlier was from monsters. She reassured Trong Man that the battle had been concealed, so their whereabouts wouldn't be exposed by her. After all, she didn't want to miss the opportunity to make money from the rich lady. Trong Man, half believing, said she would trust her this time. The red-haired woman suddenly hugged her and said, "Let's start then." Watching them entangle, Jiang Tan sighed lightly from the side. The red-haired woman lifted Trong Man, vaguely saying, "As for the pursuit, don't worry about it for now. The ambush here was our decision, not the guild's orders. The players tasked with chasing you are probably still at the Fierce Mountain. At your current pace, they probably won't catch up." She cheerfully added, "Besides, with a little rich lady like you, no matter how strong they are, chasing you is like committing suicide." Trong Man blushed, feeling awkward. "It's just because I'm lucky." The woman released her and warned that she shouldn't get too happy too soon. The canyon area was more dangerous than she thought. Trong Man didn't understand why, and the red-haired woman explained that the canyon had always been a place tightly guarded by the guild. And recently, many more people had been sent there. She had heard that a dungeon in the central canyon area had some issues. And now even small characters like herself were being assigned to the area. It seemed all the guild's level 15 teams had been sent there to help. She continued, "It's like an iron cage. No one can quietly pass through the canyon area. The vice guild leader, a level 30 assassin named Ku Exa, is probably also in the central canyon area. Even if you're stronger than me, you wouldn't be his match. And you're a key figure. A female necromancer working alone is very easy to spot. A new level 10 like you is just a walking piece of meat. If you want to pass through the canyon to the main city for a class change, you need to think about how to safely get through." Trong Man scratched her head and turned to Jiang Tan. "Little skeleton, so what should we do?" He stood there, listening to the woman's words, and realized the situation was quite complicated. If it's the canyon area, then the dungeon issue is probably related to NPCs giving quests. Unlike Fierce Mountain, the canyon has a complete game system, but when an opportunity presents itself, you can't let it slip by. The algorithm of Wilderness Era is developing over time, and there are many NPCs that can trigger Easter eggs. So, the randomness of the quests is very high. If you don't understand the quest and rush into it, the risk is too great. Quests can change at any time. Jiang Tan stood silently for a while before thinking, "The opportunity is in front of us, and I can't let it slip by. If the guild is mobilizing so many players to assist, the quest must be significant. First, we need to figure out what the quest is before we act." He then walked over to the player who had been struck by lightning. Information about the helmet and armor quickly appeared. With a warrior profession, level 10 requirement, the helmet selling for 80 copper, and the armor for 1 silver. Jiang Tan suddenly had an idea and said to Trong Man, "After hearing you, she's quite surprised. You want to take the red-haired woman to the central canyon area?" She explained that if they equipped the little skeleton with the red-haired team's gear, no one would recognize them. But the red-haired woman didn't want to do that. She only wanted to make money, not risk being expelled from the guild. She added that solo players like them without guild protection wouldn't last long in the game. Trong Man hesitated. "I'll give you another silver." The red-haired woman scoffed. "Are you joking? You paid 50 silver just for intel. And now you want me to guide you for just 1 silver? Trong Man asked her how much she wanted, saying they had no more money. The red-haired woman quickly realized Trong Man wasn't poor. Jiang Tan, standing by, silently took out a gold coin and handed it over. Trong Man tried to take it back, but the red-haired woman was honest. "Deal." After receiving the gold, she said, "I'll guide you to the designated guild location. The rest is up to you." Jiang Tan and Trong Man were speechless. The red-haired woman quickly led them, warning that the canyon was dangerous, and they should follow her instructions. Trong Man glared at her, irritated that she'd taken the gold but was still saying unnecessary things. "I know, the money's been taken, no need to repeat it." The red-haired woman reminded them that not only players but also elite monsters were present. So being cautious was wise. Then, she told Trong Man Man to summon a fake teammate and not to expose themselves. She also told them to turn off their player info. After a while, a team was quickly formed, named Hua Neem, with a level 17 paladin and Trong Man Man as a level 10 necromancer. The red-haired woman, now Hua Neem, cheerfully said, "Let's go." After forming the team, the experience points will be split evenly, and the materials and money will be divided in a 3-to-7 ratio. Trong Man Man grumbled, "She's so money hungry. Hurry up and lead the way." Hua Neem reminded them there were many small monsters ahead and warned them not to be surrounded. She would take the lead with her shield. But before she could finish, she saw the calm faces of Trong Man Man and Jiang Tan. "What's with your expressions? The canyon monsters may be low level, but they're numerous, so they're not easy to deal with." Trong Man Man confidently smiled. "It's because you haven't seen the strength of my little skeleton." Jiang Tan, standing beside her, had already drawn his sword. Surrounded by lightning, as they ventured deeper, the lightning he unleashed quickly electrocuted several monsters along the way, earning 220 evolution points. Hua Neem was stunned. "So your skill can dominate these little monsters?" Trong Man Man proudly sat on Jiang Tan's shoulder. "My little skeleton is amazing." Then she pointed at Hua Neem. "Didn't you tell me not to summon other skeletons? Well, you take care of the looting task now. Go, little skeleton number 4, collect everything." Hua Neem, confused, didn't realize she had become their mobile storage. But since she would share the money and experience points, she reluctantly began looting. As she looted, she warned Trong Man Man not to get too cocky, as there were elite monsters in the canyon too. Ahead, she spotted a level 15 elite monster, the stone golem, and said they would need to work together to defeat it. After another lightning strike, 400 evolution points were added as Jiang Tan destroyed the small monsters. Trong Man Man, from the side, said, "It's not that strong. Hurry up and loot." Hua Neem, increasingly frustrated with being bossed around, replied, "Don't get too smug. There's a massive rock snake ahead." Jiang Tan kept pushing forward, defeating a long snake-like dragon, gaining another 400 evolution points. Trong Man Man, still nonchalant, said, "It's not that strong. Go loot." Hua Neem grumbled, "Don't be so smug. There are 6-eyed demons ahead." Time passed quickly, and they reached the area with the 4-eyed spider. As usual, Jiang Tan took down the monsters, and Trong Man Man cheered Hua Neem on. "It's your turn now." Number 4. Hua Neem trembled, unable to believe what she was seeing. "This is unreal. Is this really the combat capability of a level 10 player?" She recalled Jiang Tan's performance and realized something. Trong Man Man's skeleton has skills. Did it come from the fierce mountain? And not just skills, its movements are so refined. It's almost like the summon has its own thoughts. Hua Neem observed closely and saw how sophisticated and smart Trong Man Man's skeleton fought. Trong Man Man didn't seem to notice, but Hua Neem was determined to stick close to her, even if it meant being mentally unstable. Suddenly, there was movement deep in the forest. "Help! Help!" Noticing the noise, Hua Neem warned everyone to be careful. It was a player. In the distance, a man was chasing a boy, shouting, "I'll kill you." It seemed the boy was also a player from the Tiger Guild, as he wore their emblem on his clothes. Trong Man Man looked at Hua Neem, confused about why the Beast Tiger Guild had such young staff members. Could it be that they logged into someone else's account? Hua Neem also didn't understand the situation, but what Trong Man Man suggested seemed impossible. Didn't they read the instructions when registering their accounts? When creating characters in Wilderness Era, they usually reflected the player's real-life situation. As soon as the boy saw Trong Man Man and Hua Neem, he yelled out, "People from my faction, awesome, I'm on your side, save me." The boy was frantic. "That man is crazy. He captured my friend. He's so violent, and there's blood in his eyes. Didn't expect you still have help. Today, even if I break my gear, I'll still kill all of you," the man roared, clenching his fists into a punch surrounded by a massive amount of power. He aimed straight at the boy in the area where Trong Man Man and Jiang Tan were standing. Gathering his strength behind, the boy, seeing this, was terrified and screamed. Suddenly, the ground shook, and rocks and dirt flew into the air. Hua Neem and Trong Man Man were quickly pulled aside by Jiang Tan. Trong Man Man fainted in fear. Hua Neem, still in Jiang Tan's arms, wondered, what is this summoned creature? If she hadn't told it to help her avoid danger. But Jiang Tan was still standing there, unharmed. How was it possible for the summoned creature to act on its own while she was unconscious? Hua Neem was skeptical. Looking at Jiang Tan, the man, who was facing them, was a storm martial artist. His strength and physical attributes were a natural counter to hers. Strength was a game mechanic that only allowed the character to be injured but not controlled. After gathering all his strength, the man attacked the boy. But his situation only worsened. He coughed, spitting blood, his body poisoned, his blood was almost drained. The blonde boy, having just avoided disaster, turned to Jiang Tan. "You're a swordsman, right? He's about to die. Kill him. If the martial artist uses his skills, he'll be harder to deal with." Jiang Tan was puzzled. The boy, just an 11-level poacher with no profession yet, had caused an 18-level martial artist to reach this state. Moreover, the martial artist's gear wasn't cheap. Why hadn't he fled after taking such severe damage, and instead risked everything to chase them down? The man in front, enraged, shouted, "You filthy beasts!" Wan Nim couldn't take it anymore. "Who are you calling beasts? You've started fighting as soon as you showed up. Can't we talk calmly?" The man stood up, his eyes dark. "I have nothing to say to the likes of you. It's bad enough you've been wreaking havoc, but now you're using such despicable methods. I'll deal with you all today." He then activated his blood dance skill, and a red aura enveloped him, lifting rocks and dirt into the air. Wan Nim told Jiang Tan to move aside, stepping in front of him quickly. When the man lunged to attack, Wan Nim stabbed him with her sword. Jiang Tan was impressed. The man was shocked to see a holy knight in front of him. Wan Nim held her sword firmly, saying, "Do you really think I'm easy to bully? If you don't understand, then die." She forcefully pushed him back several meters. The man stumbled and fell. But before he could react, Jiang Tan appeared behind him and swiftly killed him with a single blow. Player Ying Bao has died. Evolution points. +150. Current evolution points. 14.950, 20.000. The man's iron gloves fell to the ground. The boy quickly ran over to Jiang Tan, excited. "I didn't know you were a necromancer. It's great to meet someone from my faction. That big idiot's equipment is mine now." The boy quickly grabbed the item, which was blue-tier gear. Jiang Tan observed and thought, "So proficient." Meanwhile, Jiang Tan is more concerned with the unconscious Trong Man than the boy. Wan Nim turned to the boy, asking, "Who's your team leader? I don't know you." The boy quickly put the item into his bag and told her not to worry about it. Then hurried off. "Follow me, there's still more ahead." The team was confused, unsure where the boy was leading them, but they found themselves being guided deeper into the forest. "We're almost there. Everyone will be amazed. We're lucky to have met our people. Otherwise, we would have wasted our time." Wan Nim was curious, asking, "Who's your big brother?" The boy replied, "My big brother is Gui Bu." Wan Nim was surprised. After being promoted, he's still running errands for the guild leader? Why isn't he in the central area, but leading us around the outskirts? The boy chuckled. "We've been guarding here for days. Fortunately, Big Brother gave us this job, and now we've hit the jackpot." When they reached their destination, Jiang Tan noticed a liquid dripping down from his armor. Looking up, he saw several players hanging from trees, begging for death as they were trapped in cocoons. Their wounds were horrific, and they couldn't even touch the screen to escape the game. Wan Nim was furious, and Jiang Tan realized they were being hunted by the traps set by these players. The boy proudly asked Wan Nim, "What do you think of these traps? We've set them all up. They're hanging by their hands, screaming to be let go. They won't play anymore." Wan Nim was stunned, and Jiang Tan realized the boy's true intentions. The boy, stepping on one of the players, said, "These traps will be used for supplies when reinforcements arrive, but we won't kill them unless necessary. To keep it under wraps." Wan Nim furrowed her brow. "You're using kids to lower the player's guard? Does the guild leader know about this?" Just then, a voice called out, "Wan Nim, why did you take your hood off? Aren't you the one who hates people knowing you're a woman?" 3 men appeared, clearly familiar with her. They were members of the Gui Bu squad. One of them looked at Trong Man, who was still in Jiang Tan's arms, and commented, "This cloak looks expensive. Where'd you get it?" Before he could finish, Jiang Tan had a cold iron object at his throat. The man quickly said, "Don't be tense, Necromancer. I'm not going to hurt you. We're all part of the Beast Tiger Guild. We're family." Jiang Tan was swift and decisive, so the man switched his attention to Wan Nim. "Looks like you've finally found some good teammates." Wan Nim blushed but replied, "I see, you really know how to control your summons." Then, realizing Trong Man was pretending to be unconscious, she thought, "Clever and trustworthy as always." The boy ran towards the approaching figures. "Big brother Ying Bao, it's great to see you. I've already taken care of that martial artist." Ying Bao remained silent as the boy called out to him. The next moment, Ying Bao slapped the boy across the face. You still have the nerve to say that? You couldn't even finish a simple task and let him escape. The boy apologized, saying it wouldn't happen again. Ying Bao then ordered him to lead the others back. Jiang Tan and Hua Nim, feeling uneasy, followed. Hua Nim stepped forward to ask, "Does the guild leader know about this?" Ying Bao calmly replied, "I'm just following orders from Big Brother Gui Bu. You were sent to the outskirts to assist with the watch, right? What's the problem?" Hua Nim said, "I'm not concerned with you. Answer my question." After being released, Ying Bao answered, "It's just about catching a few players. No need to overreact. From now on, all teams in the surrounding canyon areas must follow Big Brother Gui Bu's orders. And you're no exception." Hua Nim couldn't help but laugh. "Follow his orders? So you're just another pawn in his game?" Ying Bao nodded. "It's related to a hidden dungeon in the canyon. If you don't want to be kicked out of the guild, bring your teammates along." Jiang Tan patted Hua Nim on the shoulder. They reluctantly agreed to follow Ying Bao to the canyon's central area. They quickly left with the shadow leopard. It was right ahead, and she had to meet the demon. He would assign her team a new mission. The boy ahead shouted loudly for the people inside to come out and move the bags. Wan Nian was shocked from behind. In front of them were large tents. They were discussing what they had gathered today, asking if they could share some accessories to increase stamina. The blonde boy who had been teased by others earlier was also mocked, with people saying that he had almost let the person escape this time. Jiang Tan, from behind, was equally surprised. This was a camp specializing in hunting players, and the assistants were children. Moreover, all the kids here were thief hunters. They quickly moved the bags of people inside. The shadow leopard turned to Wan Nian and told her not to make that face. They were all orphans who needed to make a living. Consider it a good deed. He said this as he draped an arm over Wan Nian's shoulder. Jiang Tan, still behind, couldn't help but think, hiring so many child hunters to kill players and loot wealth. This was clearly exploiting a loophole in the game's terms. But besides the gear, they seemed very focused on supply items and information lockdowns. It was likely because of a hidden mission. The bags were moved near the camp. The shadow leopard quickly had Wan Nian grab his collar, warning him to stop messing around. Jiang Tan was still deep in thought. What hidden mission could this be? It seemed like he would have to continue traveling with her and stay here to gather more information about the hidden task. But there was something odd about her. At this moment, Jiang Tan began to focus on Wan Nian. Placing a hand on her, she immediately reassured him, saying she still remembered the agreement. This was Wan Nian's first time being comforted by a summoned creature, and it felt incredibly strange. She then turned to the others, telling them to move on and head to the center of the camp to hear their new mission. In no time, they arrived at the camp, where there were other people. They were all surprised to see her. "Look who's here. Isn't that Wan Nian? Why did she take her helmet off? I heard she's got some looks. But wow, she's stunning. I heard that Gui Bu wanted to recruit her into his team, but she broke his nose. Some say recruit her? She should be taken into the harem. If she followed Gui Bu from the start, wouldn't she be thriving now? It's not too late today. Isn't it because she met Gui Bu that she took off her helmet?" They whispered like hungry wolves gossiping about Wan Nian. But she didn't care. "I heard she grew up in an orphanage, and her brothers are all disabled." They laughed without hesitation at her. Jiang Tan suddenly realized why Wan Nian had the attitude she had earlier. She couldn't bear to see those kids exploited because of her background. Suddenly, a man approached and said he had something to discuss with Wan Nian. He knew her background and the grudge between her and Gui Bu. He just wanted to advise her to meet Gui Bu and not act impulsively. She should prioritize the guild's interests. No one was happy about those orphans. But this was still a rare chance to get rich. If Wan Nian caused trouble, they wouldn't be able to help her. Besides the supplies, all the gear here was for her. Wan Nian sighed, acknowledging that she understood, reminding herself not to forget that this game was just like the rotten reality. She walked in, then turned back to Trong Man Man and Jiang Tan. "Hey, rich lady. From now on, I'll call you Milk Cow." The summoned creature was an electric mule. Jiang Tan sighed, thinking the names were quite meaningful. She then lifted the purple curtain behind her and told them to come inside. As she opened the curtain, a bell inside began ringing. A man inside was doing something, constantly exclaiming, "Interesting, not bad, well done, catching so many women like this. You're still the most useful." He continued, "Once the guild's work is done, I'll get someone to heal your hands and return your gear. Then you can log out." Jiang Tan looked inside, feeling uncomfortable. It seemed like he had just seen a moving piece of pork. Wan Nian called his name. Turns out, this man was Gui Bu. He turned as soon as he heard her. Wan Nian, why did you take your helmet off? Wan Nian irritably replied, what's it to you? I heard you're giving me a new mission. Gui Bu looked at her like a dog wagging its tail when it saw its owner. He quickly stepped up, saying, indeed, you're the type of girl I like the most. It's a shame you're interested in other things. Wan Nian didn't hesitate and slapped him, telling him to get to the point. Gui Bu winced in pain and yelled out a few times. But Wan Nian wasn't interested in his cries, she only cared about the mission. Gui Bu, sweating, teased, you're tough, I like you even more. Wan Nian's expression darkened, her killing intent freezing the air around her. What's the matter? Do you like hearing me curse at you? Scum? Gui Bu was undeterred. He saw her anger and seemed even more intrigued. As you saw, guarding this camp is your new mission. Deeper inside is the dungeon area of the canyon. Your job is to keep players from entering. Wan Nian asked, why do we have to do this? He looked at her with a sly grin and said, I can't tell you unless you know. Wan Nian frowned and asked, does the president know about these orphans? He sneered, of course, he does. If not, whose plan do you think this is? Afterward, he warned her not to take things too seriously and grinned wickedly. Aren't you eager to climb up and support your brothers? Now's the best chance. Join me, and I'll make sure you get the most rewards. What do you say? I haven't even gotten back at you for breaking my nose last time. Gui Bu was completely unaware that his life was already forfeit. Wan Nian grabbed his collar and lifted him up. If you keep talking filth, I'll make sure your mouth is permanently shut. Gui Bu still acted arrogantly, saying, you think just by yourself you can stop me? The items in this camp will be delivered to the president. If you mess with his plan, can you handle the consequences? You think the president still cares about you like when you first joined the guild? He smirked. I'm his right-hand man now. This is my ticket to the top. At that moment, a notification popped up showing the ring Gui Bu was wearing. A special quest item, a ring refined from the size of spirits. Show your strength to the spirits. It can be transferred. Jiang Tan ignored Gui Bu's insults toward Wan Nian and focused sharply. As if he were going to devour him, he grabbed his sword and readied for action. Gui Bu, sensing something, asked, who are you? I've never seen you before. Are you another disabled brother of Wan Nian? Jiang Tan swung his sword, and lightning surrounded him. Without warning, he charged and attacked Gui Bu, who immediately screamed as his face shifted through 7 different expressions. Wan Nian, startled, turned and asked what was going on. Gui Bu, still hanging in the air, sneered, you dare to attack me? Do you think you can survive this? Jiang Tan, surprised that Gui Bu hadn't died from the attack, realized that he must have some kind of protective accessory. The lightning continued to strike, and Gui Bu quickly used dark magic, a shadow orb. Jiang Tan's stats showed high resistances, and Gui Bu was stunned. The system displayed his stats: 356 magic resistance, 130 physical resistance, 980 attribute resistance, and high resistances to certain elements. Gui Bu finally realized the situation had turned against him and begged for mercy. Offering all the gear, Jiang Tan, uninterested, saw Gui Bu as nothing more than a nuisance. In the end, Jiang Tan dealt the finishing blow with a lightning strike, and the system quickly announced, player Gui Bu has died. 2 rings fell from his body. One a level 10 rock giant's ring, and the other the ring refined from the size of spirits. Jiang Tan picked up the rings, noting that the size of spirits ring was a good item, while Gui Bu had been a fool to possess such valuable gear. Jiang Tan was more interested in the quest related to the spirits, which seemed like a surefire win. He left Gui Bu's body behind and walked outside. Wan Nian, still puzzled, followed him as he dragged his sword across the ground. They needed to head to the dungeon area to complete the mission. One of their group tried to leave, but Jiang Tan stopped him, preparing to kill all the Tiger Thug players in the camp. Jiang Tan stepped outside and swung his sword, releasing a surge of energy. The shockwave instantly caused everything nearby to collapse. The 2 Tiger Beast players were startled and stood up in alarm, confused by the sudden chaos. Barley smoothies spilled onto the ground, and everyone in the camp was dumbfounded. What's all this commotion about? When they saw the killing intent radiating from Jiang Tan, they immediately realized he had just slain the mountain goat. His evolution points increased by 1.000, bringing his total to 15.050 out of 20.000. The Tiger Beast players were still clueless, and even Wan Nim seemed confused. She asked Trong Man what was going on. No one just kills people randomly like that. We're in trouble now. Real trouble. We're all doomed, she muttered repeatedly. But Jiang Tan showed no fear. He silently evaluated the enemy. The average player level here was around 14. All basic classes, with no mages or holy knights. Just a bunch of weaklings, nothing to be wary of. One of them stood up and volunteered to talk to Jiang Tan. He shouted to Wan Nim, asking what they were doing. "Don't you want to split the loot anymore?" he said, then pointed directly at Jiang Tan. "You have two choices. 1. Leave your equipment here and log out. Or 2. He didn't get to finish his sentence. Jiang Tan had already attacked, firing bolts of lightning at him. He moved so fast that the eye couldn't follow. The guy managed only a single scream before going down. Another player behind him protested, claiming this was a setup by Wan Nim's squad. "They're rebelling. Everyone, attack. Archers, check his class." They quickly surrounded Jiang Tan. But the main character only smiled slyly. A chaotic brawl? Perfect. If they all charged him at once, escaping might be difficult, but if they attacked one by one. On the side, the Tiger Beast players were preparing for battle, using scouting skills to pinpoint targets. Jiang Tan slipped through the crowd and locked onto an archer. His movements were lightning fast, and in a blink, he was behind the archer and delivered a critical strike. Using the archer's body as a shield, he confused the others, making it impossible for them to get a proper scan or lock onto him. They quickly realized the dark, lightning-charged sword. He was a dark swordmaster. Fear spread through the ranks, and they began warning each other to keep their distance. Jiang Tan understood these foolish players too well. From a distance, another archer tried to fire at him, but Jiang Tan spotted him instantly and killed him within a heartbeat. Archers had to be taken out first. Anyone revealing their position was a priority target. He then equipped his bone arrow armor and fired arrows into the air, prioritizing bleeding effects. The bone arrows rained down and pierced his enemies. They couldn't understand how a swordmaster could attack from such a range. A warrior charged at him, wielding a shield and an axe. "Stop worrying about his class, just pin him down," he barked. "His ranged attacks are tricky. We need to restrict his movements." Jiang Tan noticed his movements slowing, exposing multiple weaknesses. He flipped a wooden table off the ground and used it as a shield, surprising the warrior. "Blocking vision, huh?" the warrior growled, then angrily split the table in two with a swing. Jiang Tan dodged and counterattacked at the same moment. The warrior finally realized Jiang Tan was far too fast. Electricity crackled around him. The gaps in the warrior's heavy armor were vulnerable points, and his bulky gear only slowed him down further. In the next instant, Jiang Tan dashed past like a phantom, slashing through him. Another 100 evolution points gained. Now the crowd began to panic. He had killed over a dozen players by himself. Did Wan Nim really have such a powerful ally? Jiang Tan thought to himself. Seems like he could farm more evolution points here. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind. "He's got ranged attacks and magic. Is that a hidden class?" "No idea," another replied, "but his level isn't high. Still, he fights like someone used to PvP. Every strike hits a weak point. He's more like an assassin than you are." Two elite players from Vice Guild leader Ku Zai's squad appeared. Seeing them, Jiang Tan quickly analyzed swordsman and assassin. Without support type classes, likely a hyper-aggressive fighting style. Attribute-wise, he had the advantage, but their levels were higher. The two activated a 20% movement speed boost and charged in, chatting about what loot they'd get afterward. Same old plan, kill him and take his gear. The money's mine. They both attacked at once, but Jiang Tan parried their blows. The spectators were impressed. Those were elite players. And yet he was holding his own. One of the two complimented Jiang Tan. "Not bad, you're actually keeping up with my speed." Jiang Tan kept fighting while thinking. Their technique was average, but their level was high. If this drags on, he might miss the mission. The spirit condensation mission for the Thunder Antelope required collecting points at a specific location to summon it. If summoned, this boss would revive nearby monsters, causing sudden level ups in surrounding zones. The Tiger Beast Guild would be drawn to them. Killing monsters gave the lowest point gain, and long fights would drain supplies fast. Right now, the Tiger Beast players were clearly losing to Jiang Tan. They still had no clue what class he was. But Jiang Tan's thoughts were elsewhere. He realized the Thunder Antelope wasn't the final target. It was only the quest giver's stand-in. The real source was likely a level 99 undead boss, Grandmaster Lich Veronica. She issued the true quest. Completing it didn't just reward gear and items. It granted a hidden Necromancer class change scroll. He was lucky. Solo squads usually couldn't even attempt this kind of quest. The players fighting Jiang Tan were getting exhausted. Backing off to recover, He's too fast, it's like he's just toying with us. One of them pulled out an orange potion. We've got no choice. Time to use enhancement potions. Plus 20% to all attributes. Duration: 1 hour. Jiang Tan recalled his arrival at the camp. Judging by its current state, the Thunder Antelope had probably reached the canyon over a week ago. Even if the Tiger Beast Guild had been grinding for points, the summon rate would still be low. But they were likely close to finishing it now. Jiang Tan decided it was time to end the battle quickly. There wasn't much time left, he had to reach the central zone. The enemy shouted, "Whatever ranged tricks you've got, bring them all out now." "I've got no ranged skills," the Shadow Panther player replied. "What, idiot," the leader yelled. "Fire bottles, throwing knives, dung bombs, anything you can toss. Throw it now." The two potion-enhanced players sped up dramatically, quickly flanking Jiang Tan. He instantly knew they had used attribute boosters. He had wanted to conserve evolution points for the level 30 guild leader. But now he couldn't afford to waste any more time. The two elites attacked at once, while the Shadow Panther hurled grenades. A massive explosion followed, smoke clouding the area. "Did you get him?" someone asked. "Yeah," one attacker replied. "I stabbed straight through him. He's dead for sure." But then something strange happened. His blade had sliced through nothing, just air. No resistance, no contact. In that moment, Jiang Tan had evolved his 10,000 lightning strike skill to level 10. Unlocking the passive lightning barrier. He grabbed the stunned player by the collar. One of them panicked. "B-Bones, you're not human. What the hell are you?" Jiang Tan just stared at them and said coldly, "Your turn." Trong Man Man's experience points kept increasing, while her entire body sat dazedly on the ground, ignoring Wan Nim, who was screaming hoarsely for her. Wan Nim shook Trong Man Man, yelling, "How long are you planning to pretend to sleep? What exactly are you trying to do? The Tiger Beast Guild is going to send a ton of players after us. Are you even listening to me?" Then, she suddenly realized that Trong Man Man had already disconnected. Only then did it dawn on her that she had died. Wan Nim couldn't figure out when Trong Man Man had been killed and became even more suspicious of the little skeleton. If she was dead, how could her summoned creature still act on its own? Could it be that the summon had a mind of its own? No way. Inside, it seemed quiet, but outside a brutal battle was raging. Jiang Tan's lightning bolts kept flashing down, striking with explosive force. One blast blew away the curtain, the shockwave reaching all the way to where Wan Nim and Trong Man Man were. That's when Wan Nim looked outside. Corpses and scattered gear were everywhere. She was stunned. Had all these players really been killed by the summoned creature? Could it be that the rich girl had operated the summon to kill them just before dying herself? No, that couldn't be right. What kind of ridiculous coincidence would that be? Jiang Tan's outer cloak was shredded. He stood on top of a player he had just taken down. Looking at the dagger in his hand, he felt a strange familiarity. It was a Shadowfang dagger, gear from the Bloodthirsty Thief line. Level 15, with bleed effect level 3. He remembered someone had once placed an order for this item back when he was grinding levels for others. He had to fight overnight for several days to get it. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. "Don't tell me you were the one who made that order. If that's true, then you're partly responsible for my death too." With that, he struck down another bolt of lightning, sending that player straight into the afterlife. Wan Nim, watching from the side, was stunned. Is it really trying to kill everyone? Jiang Tan's evolution points increased by another 120, now 16.030 out of 20.000. He glanced at the surrounding players. Just getting through this had cost more points than expected. Oh well, the urgent matter now was to reach the central zone. Clenching his fist, he thought, if I can help that girl complete her hidden class change, it'll be a huge boost to my growth. But she had been disconnected for a while now. Who knows when she would reconnect? If she had simply lost her connection, she could come back, but if she had been killed off for good, then he'd be in deep trouble. He decided he needed someone to take care of Trong Man Man while he focused on fighting. Turning back toward the curtain, where Wan Nim and Trong Man Man were, he walked inside. As soon as he lifted the curtain, he saw Wan Nim. He nearly forgot about her. She was the perfect candidate. At that moment, Wan Nim screamed in fear. "What the hell are you? Don't come any closer. I'm not scared of you. No matter how strong you are. One more step and I'll report everything about you to the Tiger Beast Guild." Then she grabbed his skeletal face. Jiang Tan realized she was genuinely frightened. Not everyone had such a simple mindset. After all, he placed a hand on her, gently. Just in time. He needed an assistant to help carry out his plan, so he'd better treat her kindly. Wan Nim was surprised he didn't attack her. She suddenly remembered. This summoned creature had been protecting her and the rich girl the entire way here. As fragmented memories came to her, she began to doubt. Could it really have thoughts of its own? Her face turned red at the idea. If it did have independent thought, then that time when it stripped her gear, wasn't that? No, stop thinking nonsense, she told herself. It just wanted to loot some items. While Wan Nim was still dazed and daydreaming about the two of them getting married, Jiang Tan was already dragging her away. Time to act, plans in motion. Wan Nim was bewildered. Where are you taking me? You really can't trust anything in this game. Not long after, a large flame erupted nearby. Some people cried while speaking. Unbelievable, this really happened. For the sake of solo players like us, she dared to go to war with all the players in the guild camp. She's truly the goddess of solo players in the Gorge region. At that moment, Wan Nim was carrying Trong Man. Everyone was praising her for saving them, vowing to fight back against the Tiger Beast Guild's players who used children as bait to make them drop their guard and fall into a trap. All this, just to loot in-game assets? Unbelievable. In the back, Jiang Tan was very pleased. He had picked the right person. Once everything settled, he stuffed Trong Man back into his bag. Wan Nim explained that the Tiger Beast Guild didn't capture them just for money or gear. In fact, it was because of a hidden quest in the Gorge region. That's why they sealed information and looted others, to gather supplies. Upon hearing this, everyone became furious. So it was a hidden quest. No wonder they were so ruthless. Those often reward rare gear and items. She continued, we were hunted because we found out their plan. But right now, most of their teams are deep in the central area hunting monsters. And their outer defenses are very weak. This is our best chance to break through and return to the main city. Everyone sighed. We don't have enough gear and supplies. And we're too scared to face the Tiger Beast Guild head-on. Wan Nim added, they left behind traps and items. If we want to break through, we'll need those. Everyone's attitudes changed instantly. They began eyeing the gear hungrily. One person picked up a poison bottle that could wound a fire snake AoE mage. Another inspected a net made from demon-faced spider silk. Watching from the side, Jiang Tan knew the plan was working. But he noticed a player in iron armor standing at a distance, someone who seemed to have figured something out. Better act first, he thought. Adjusting his bag, Jiang Tan prepared to leave. Seeing this, Wan Nim told the others. Soon, news that the guild camp's been overrun will reach Tiger Beast's HQ. If we all break out together, we'll be too big a target. Gather supplies and break out in smaller groups. After relaying the message, she returned to Jiang Tan. I did what you asked. Looks like it worked. She hadn't expected his goal was to get the solo players to create chaos for the Tiger Beast Guild so he could blend in and carry out his real plan unnoticed. She found the rich girl's strategy cunning, but even more unbelievable was that the summon could continue carrying out orders even after the summoner disconnected. She never thought she'd be dragged into this plan herself. It was dangerous, but she had no other choice now. There was no point staying in that trashy guild anyway. But can this dungeon-stealing plan really succeed? Lost in thought, she bumped into Jiang Tan. Rubbing her forehead, she complained, aren't we in a hurry? Why did you? Suddenly, a weapon struck toward them. Jiang Tan blocked it with one hand and shoved Wan Nim aside with the other. The attacker backed off. It was the player Jiang Tan had spotted earlier. You actually blocked that? Not bad, the man said. As they faced off, Jiang Tan realized this was a shadow assassin, a class change from thief that had strict requirements. His level and skills were far higher than the others. The man got straight to the point. You two don't actually want to break through the blockade, do you? First, you let the others go. Then you told them about the quest. Then you left loot behind. You wanted them to stir up chaos in the gorge while you carried out your own plan. Your real goal is the hidden quest, and you know how to reach the central zone. As he spoke, he walked closer to Jiang Tan. Jiang Tan could tell he was sharp. He'd figured out almost everything. But Wan Nim stepped forward. Stop assuming things. We just want to escape the gorge and use the holy gun. We saved you, and now you're turning on us? But then the man said, I'm coming with you. I don't care about the quest. I have only one goal, to kill Ku Exa. If I get to kill him with my own hands, I'll do whatever you ask. So, what do you say?